Hola, 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 hola.
Espérate que acabo de panicar. Vale, ok, ok. Perfecto.
Bueno, buenos días. Buenos días a todos. Vamos a ver que termine de entrar la gente. Bueno, como decía, buenos días. Creo que tenemos mucha suerte. Yo soy Vicente Porres del Máster de Producto. Creo que tenemos mucha suerte de poder estar hoy aquí. Voy a presentaros a Christian Siegel, CEO de Siegel Studio. Nos va a contar algo que es como cómo se cocina un icono, ¿no? Entonces parece muy sencillo y puede parecer una idea feliz, pero realmente sigue el design a través de este ejemplo, a quien tenemos que dar las gracias por traerle a nuestro proveedor especial de Don Bratz. La marca Don Bratz, por favor, chequearla porque son icónicos. Realmente todos los productos Don Bratz son de alta calidad y son icónicos. Entonces, bueno, vamos a ver uno de estos productos, cómo se genera. ¿Vale? Entonces, no voy a entreteneros más. Voy a dejar que sigan entrando gente. Y como todos vosotros, recibid con un fuerte aplauso a Christian Siegel.
Gracias. Oh. Yeah, okay, I stick to English. I hope you accept that and you're fine with this. And I'm really happy to be here this morning and seeing so many of you here. And I see some people are watching thanks to Zoom, but luckily student life is back. And I'm really happy for all of you. I have 3 daughters in the student age, and I saw what a struggle it was over the last years, not being able to interact and just sit in front of your screen and miss the fun of student life. So I hope that has come back. Do you have student life again? Yeah? Party? Drinking? Friends? No, it's all about interacting. I mean, it's about discussion. So I hope that I get some really critical comments and questions. So take out something to write or use your phone, because I want to learn from you today what makes your bathroom special to you. And if not yet, maybe in the near future, you will think about the bathroom in a little different way, because it's not only about the hardware, it's so much more about the software these days, where the room interacts with us. And so what is your favorite room in your house or your parents' house? Where do you like to spend your time? Bedroom. Okay, yeah, that's kitchen. Why do we want to spend time in the kitchen? Yeah, that's our public center of the house. This is where we have the good time. Every good party ends in front of the refrigerator because you want to stay close to the good beers. So this is, I think, something where maybe there's a second center in the house. I think it could be the bathroom, because this is the place where you are completely private. This is where you're naked, where you're unprotected. But also this is maybe the space where you can regenerate a little bit. Wake up in the morning after a tough studying day. You want to wake up and get refreshed, get a nice good shower and get out there for the day. And then this room hopefully welcomes you with a good light. I mean, you don't have problems looking in the mirror, but when I look in the mirror in the morning, I always need good light to cheer me up. And so this is, I think, something where we have to put a little emphasis on the bathroom to energize us for the days, and also to give us a chance to relax when we come home and calm down after a hectic day, or maybe get refreshed for the upcoming event and party. So this is a little bit about the bathroom up front, something I don't want to forget, because I've just had the great pleasure of seeing the Norman Foster Foundation, which is based here in Madrid. It's not a completely public museum, but I'm sure the school, the university will arrange access options, and it's definitely something that you have to see. It's fucking impressive what this one guy has put together over the 87 years, and he's still kicking. and 1,400 sketchbooks they put together. And there's all this amazing work he has there. So it's really worth seeing this and seeing that he has been struggling with his ideas, coming up with beautiful buildings. So it's pretty similar to your daily work. I saw you bringing some models here. It's not just easy to get your first chair ready. And I think it's the same thing for Norman Foster building airports, just on a different scale. So I was invited to talk about the creating an icon, and now everything is shared, but nothing is moving anymore. Okay, which sounds quite dramatic, but sometimes history, looking back, you can always create great stories about how super smart somebody was and how radically innovative. But sometimes you also need a certain help of the coincidence. And actually, when we talk about Dornbracht, we talk about the faucets. But actually, this was a line my father created in the early 90s for Dürrwitz, because he said, well, I want something very archetype, very relaxed. So maybe some of you kind of, when you go to a museum, you see these old wash basins with a carafe of water next to it. So that was the first bathrooms in our houses where people started to wash themselves, at least in their face. So he said, why can't I translate something like this? But I need the matching faucet. I need something very, very pure and simple, just the tube coming out, cross handles. And then we asked the company Dornbracht as being our partner, can you produce this? They say, yeah, well, sure, we can produce it, but it's if Dürrwitz buys it, yes, then we will make it. And so the first 1 or 2 years, this product continued, as you saw, with different stands, metal, wood, ceramic. And surprisingly, it became more and more successful. So we said, what about rethinking this as a line for Dornbracht? And at that time, the Dornbracht faucets were golden, big, bulky on one side, and also some of the first designs my father realized in the middle of the 80s. So it was for them quite a radical approach to say, can we make something so reduced, something so clean, something so simple, where we had discussions about, but this looks like it would be available in the DIY market. I mean, you can just bend this over your knee. It's not really complex. But yeah, luckily, we could persuade the owners of the Dornbracht brand, the family Dornbracht, that it would be right to add this to the portfolio, because they said, no, we are a luxury brand. We are on the high end. We do something very elegant, expensive, but we say maybe luxury is not a question of material and price, but it's also a question of a certain simplicity and reduction. So the story continued by sketching a single hole mixer, because this was one of the most needed item in the portfolio, and out came actually then the from the Baniela, and this an existing product in the Dornbracht portfolio, the medicine. We then translated this into the, today we say, iconic Tara. In 1992, we didn't know that this would last for 30 years. Excuse me for one second. Finish temperature up here. So this was then actually introduced, and at first we always talk about this is an architect product. Only architects really understand this, but luckily we saw that more and more people really appreciated this product. And then we said, well, maybe it has this simplicity and the reduction in design and shape that it reaches out to more people. And maybe 20 years ago still, or 25 years ago, if I would have asked a child to draw a faucet, it probably would have looked much similar to this one. Today, maybe it's a single lever mixer more, but that I think is the one of the key elements that made it so successful, looking at these elements that you might have seen normally in your heating system, in your basement to control your heating, water pipes, and to actually introduce this into the bathroom. And then we continued using it also in the kitchen, just having a larger spout. And then the big question arises, but how do you manage to keep this alive? And why does this continuously be attractive? And so yeah, there were the images of the 90s with concrete and glass and new variations of the product, and then the archetype approach. So there was a willingness also to underline this by making products that not a lot of people really would buy, but it definitely underlined that this is something very, yeah, classical in a certain way. Also the way we introduced the shower. I mean, these days people started to build glass boxes to shower inside, but maybe it would be nice to have something so simple, like we started making showers with curtains and there's just a valve for cold water. So all these extra elements, which are not the core of the commercial success, also we managed to persuade the industry partner Dornbracht to say, well, it's necessary to bring this to the portfolio to be more trustworthy, that this is really something so reduced and simple. And you can imagine that some architects, interior designers like this pureness and radical approach. What does this show us? 2008, that was already something like 16 years maturity of Fatara. We said maybe it's about time to modify this slightly. We wanted to make it slightly higher, make the handles a little thicker. The whole Tara was a bit grown up. You can imagine when you think about producing two things parallel, that this is driving the factory pretty crazy, because you can hardly see the difference between the two of them. So they had red boxes for the existing one and gray boxes for the new one, so that the factory people could actually separate this. You have to have the same understanding on both sides. And this is surely one of the challenges of designers, interior, or all creatives, to persuade your customer, to persuade your partner that certain things make sense. So luckily with our cooperation with Dornbracht, there was always this good understanding of Andreas Dornbracht to say, yeah, let's see if you have this feeling we need to change something. So we did on both characters. And then also added a new finish. The black came out and the white to underline the purity again. There was always the willingness and invest into nice interior layouts of different kind of bathrooms. So that really helped to underline this. And there's a little collage and run through, so images. So has always been this necessity for updating this with different visual context. And luckily with now Dura Brass, where we probably 5 or 10 years ago, we would have thought, oh, who in the hell wants brass again? I mean, that's such a classical material, and suddenly it's there. It's nice, it's warm, it's not so shiny and glitzy like gold, but with this matte finish, it suddenly appears as being something very nice and warm. And maybe a little more traditional and something that relates to the past, and at the same time has a very clean and futuristic look. There's a kind of a gunmetal dark platinum now that gives another coolness. We just added some small handles. So there has been a constant update, but not like every 1 year, every 2 years, adding completely new things, because I mean, we know it's not a fast moving consumer good. It's something that lasts so long. And when journalists ask me, well, what is your latest development? Then I say, okay, this is this or this or that. But I always ask them to do me a favor and cover this in your magazine as well. And I say, yeah, why? But it's so old. I said, it's old because you know it and I know it. But if you as a consumer go into this next shop, you don't know that this has been around for 30 years. So please let the consumer choose what is right for her or him, and not tell him you always have to buy the latest. That doesn't really make sense. And hopefully is also one of the great advantages of having things more sustainable. because this is what I like to, I would say promote more and more, is buying less products, making less products, and then sales guys always get little wrinkles on their forehead and say, but no, we want to sell something. I say, yeah, but maybe it's better to sell one good product at once and not just continuously selling something new because it has changed or it looks more up to date. So maybe sometimes things which are more simple and relaxed stay with you for longer. And important is that surely the product quality, but that is also of cheaper products these days, has become much better. But I think most important is really to stay with the design and like the design and be able to interact. And I think this is what Yatara does. It gives you the connection to your interior design. Is one of the things next to the door handle, the light switch is where you touch your building and relate to this. And that's something where you, I think, have something that we should have brought some samples to pass them around so you can really get this feeling. So I don't know, it's maybe some of you say, yeah, but those are true icons. I'm not quite sure if one could put this inside, but I mean, being around as a consumer product for now more than 30 years somehow proves a little bit the concept that people have this relation to it. And I know of customers who bought the Tara in 1994 and now after 30 years of use, it's worn out and they want a new one. And they sometimes say, well, I still love it. I still stick to it and I just need a replacement. And these are some of the latest images that the communication team is pushing forward. I think one of the crucial elements, which I also like to highlight later on, is pushing the bathroom more to the outside of the house. I mean, I don't know, who has a window in his bathroom? Who would love to have a window in his bathroom? So it's up to you to push that place that is quite often stuck in the center of the house more to the outside, because we love to see more contact to nature. And I mean, unfortunately, the climate change is emphasizing this, that you can just open the door and enjoy nature and maybe even think about taking a shower outside. I mean, it's maybe not something to be too happy about, but if that option is there, why not use Mother Nature's beauty and feeling and air to interact? Oh, I made something wrong. Oh gosh, Christian. I wanted to run you through the design process of Baya, because this was one of our second latest developments that gives this a little more detail, because honestly, my archive is not close to the nice one as I just saw, and we have to improve on that side as well. But luckily, Vaya is only 4 years ago, so I can give you a better understanding of how we worked out the solution for today's bathroom requirements. So it's looking around, getting inspiration, getting the understanding of what is happening in the market, and suddenly we see open constructions like here in restaurants, so you don't have to cover it up, you don't have this perfectionism. So it's a little bit this factory feeling. We see suddenly these metal constructed doors entering our private space in our home. We have hopefully maybe some open structures, old elements. We see more natural materials coming in. We have a mix of the young and old. This is my parents' sofa from 1964 in my brother's second latest living room. I think it's been like 5 or 6 times recovered with different patterns, with different textiles. And then there is modern art, new objects. So this is something that we like more and more these days. We are not buying a living room. We are not buying a dining room with one total look. And we see, luckily, that the bathroom is becoming a living room where people are willing to put some nice objects inside, have a beautiful painting, have a chance to sit down. Anybody of you has a chair in his bathroom? The only chance to sit down is your toilet? Why not think, I mean, even in a tiny, I mean, it's not a large bathroom. Why not have a chance to sit down and maybe listen to your partner while he's shaving or brushing his teeth? spending more time in this room, I think, is a crucial thing that we all need to think about. So looking at this image with much more research around this, looking at different new materials coming up. Suddenly we see less chrome, we see more brass finishes, we see more dark metals, we see different kind of lamps. So we see different kind of shapes. It's more darker appearance all over. It's maybe a certain elegance and products, softer shapes. So with different kind of installations of setups where here and there some of our products appear, but more and more often they are not appearing in these setups of interior designers. So we asked ourselves, why don't we have the right solution? Yeah, we have a white spot in our portfolio that does not really answer this. And then we started to analyze all the different architectures. And I just show you a few slides out of about 40 different ones. So there's the urban architecture, the outside, the inside, the bathroom, and the kind of matching product we thought. And then we see so many different options of buildings. I mean, there's some elegant one in the countryside, there's an elegant one in the city side, there's an elegant one in Spain, there's an elegant one in Italy, or an elegant one in Great Britain. And how do we have the right answers, and what kind of finishes would we expect? What kind of material combinations, and what kind of product will we need to always have an answer, not for all of them, but for the ones we have missed out. And so after looking at all of these different ones, we thought about how can we actually bring the right product to that gap in our portfolio. And that was how I jumped over this. Unfortunately, I don't see my upcoming slides, so I'm a little bit stumbling around my presentation. So we came up with something that for us was quite a radical break in our design DNA, that has not a very geometric shape. It was very organic. Finding a solution from having a hole here and a small handle on top. So it's more or less like a trumpet shape, or the shape of a wine glass, something which we never really had in our portfolio, and making it a very beautiful element to touch. It has a very nice softness, so it's not as straight and strong maybe as the Tara before, and it has some very new finishes we haven't seen before. First thing also ever in the history of the brand, we invited other interior designers to give us their vision of a bathroom. This is Nirien Hu from Shanghai, and for me it's a little bit like a Blade Runner home, where could be great to have this pond in the garden with a crackling fire. And specifically when this turns into the evening, and it will be a nice warm rain out there. So it's looking beyond, thinking outside of the box. Surely difficult to translate this into the personal home. But I think one of the really nice ideas they came up with and say, why do you normally always stand next to each other and look into a mirror? Why can't we stand in a 90-degree angle and interact and talk to each other, and have maybe a mirror which is freely hanging, and a nice long wash basin that turns down, and then this still a very luxurious version, but maybe easier to understand and to translate this into your private setup. So I think the Via underlines, and gives a nice answer specifically in the different dark finishes. And so there was also work together with other interior designers, giving them the product, also like Rafael de Cardenas, who said, well, I want to integrate nature in a different way by having it growing more or less into my bathroom. And also here then, this was translated into a little bit more realistic setting, still quite, church style. But I think this is also the understanding of the brand and our collaboration, that we have to inspire the market and have inspire people, not only think in square rooms, but give them a chance to bring a different atmosphere and different material combinations in there. Yeah. So this is luckily the world has opened up in many new finishes and colors, and still limiting this to a certain amount because we don't want to offer the rainbow. We also want to limit this by curating the finishes so that we say these are the right ones for this product, because otherwise you will have a customer sitting there not knowing what to choose. So because he only buys this every 25 years. I mean, when you think about your next iPhone, you kind of know very well what colors are available, which one you should pick. But in this case, I think it's a different story. Yeah, talking about product development, yeah, sustainability, I think is something that is all on our list these days. And the question of how do we bring this challenge together of having the economy side, because we all need to make a living, the ecological side and the social side. So we need to challenge ourselves by making products more durable. We need to make products more repairable. And that is, I think, one of the advantages of having a factory close by in Europe, where everything is handmade. Actually, the long-lasting design, which I mentioned earlier, and also this, yeah, maybe second icon is already launched in 2003, so it's nearly 20 years young. So trying to achieve this, we always had this fruitful collaboration with Dornbracht, and just over the last years, we kind of realized maybe we had a schedule, maybe we had a scheme really to run all our products through this test. And we are now talking about our 5 Ps, where one is the proportion. And I was really happy to see that, yeah, I think many creative processes, and just in the archive, I could discover that also architectures are running through so many different models and modular setups of their buildings. And this is the same for us. Before we find the right proportion of a product, it takes dozens, sometimes hundreds of different scales. We never really used the golden ratio for us and try to draw the products inside, but an engineer at Dornbracht tested all the different products and said, well, surprisingly, 90% of the products fit into the golden ratio. Maybe that helped. Precision, I think we are all on an expectation level these days that when you look at the old car 40 years ago, there was like gaps like this, and these days you hardly see where the door opens. So therefore we also have consumers who are having different expectations. So the precision on the consumer product needs to come to a different level. And as I said, something that you need to get your hands on to get this feeling and understanding, because you don't want sharp edges, you want something nicely, and also a finish which is soft to touch. At the same time, when you launch something new, maybe there needs to be a certain progressiveness relating to the surrounding of what is happening in boats. Okay, maybe that is not so crucial, but architecture, cars, consumer products. So how can we find an answer to that? And that was in the middle of the 2000s, just before the financial crisis. Everything was kind of booming, everything was getting bolder. So at that time, we said, okay, if we create a new faucet, it should reflect this fast forward approach and have a certain progressiveness. At the same time, not being too radically advanced, because we are an industrial partner. We work for a company that wants to sell a certain amount of quantities. They need to sell a certain amount of quantities to pay their team. So we have to find something which is modern, which is progressive, but it's not avant-garde, because avant-garde would mean we are before the market, and then we would be more artists than designers. And personality. So every new product that we add, does it really have its own characteristic? And this is more or less the track record over the last 39 years of our cooperation. And the people who have been close to the brand can name all of them. But this is really something where we hope we manage to have products created that really have an identity and are not just there for the sake of it. And performance, surely something with all of this. I mean, we are controlling our water system in our house. And how can we qualify this? So we have a different valve. When you open this, there's only cold water coming out, because sometimes, I mean, you open your single lever mixer, there's a mixed water coming out, but you don't have the time to wait for the warm water to come. You wash your hands, you close it again and leave. And then the warm water just stays in front of your faucet, hasn't been used, and your heating system is reproducing warm water. So it's a loss of energy for nothing. So why not having a valve that opens with cold water? And if you really want hot water because you need to clean your face intensively, then you have to give it an extra twist. Or you want to celebrate the beauty of water, which something many people also forget, it's a nutrition. I mean, we get something in many parts of the world, you get something out of your faucet which you can actually enjoy. And I always say, normally on fairs where all these faucets are running, maybe once in a while we should link or switch to red wine, that people would suddenly realize there's something good coming out, and they will all run for a glass and try to put it underneath here. And so this is also something where with MIM, we made the experience, took the aerator out, because I mean, you look, next time you wash your hands, look at it, it's a bubbly water. But when you are on the ocean or hiking through the mountains and there's the little river and take the water out, it's completely crystal clear. And so we also took it out to make sure that people get this understanding. But then it's a question of how you install this, because then the water has more pressure. And when you don't have the right wash basin, and then the water sprinkles out, and then you come out of the men's toilet and don't really look too proper anymore. So there's a combination of functionality and sensitivity for what water is all about. So those are our 5 P's. We talk about individuality. Nobody, luckily, of us looks the same, and luckily we are more individual than ever before, and we can wear whatever we like, we can buy whatever we can. And so all brands try to find an answer by having household toasters in different finishes. This one Apple Watch is not one anymore, it's a million options. Cars can be completely individualized, so we also have to ask ourselves, do we have to have an answer for everyone? Or do we offer a certain range? Because a watch, you can change the stripe or the band every few weeks. But a faucet, you're not changing every few weeks. So that should be able and so qualified and right from the finish that it will last with you for 15 years, 20 years. Oops. So it's really something sensitive to think about of not using all the technology options. This is what my brother, as the main designer, always says, well, you can think about everything, but don't automatically put it into production. I mean, this is when you run across a fair and you see so many wild gadgets out there, and you really sometimes ask yourself, was there really a need to make this, I don't know, sitting Buddha that keeps your door open? So there's, I think, many examples of this that we have come across. And so luckily, the bathroom is not a pure cold white space anymore. It can be as colorful as your kitchen, or it can be as entertaining as your living room, because yeah, we have more technology options with PVD finishes, with chrome finishes, to bring this to the market, being able to individualize even more, so that the inside of the handle can be easily taken out, so that everybody can create his own combination. And maybe we also here and there add some highlights to have a twinkle in the eye, but not automatically translate this to the full portfolio, because if we would have all these colors in the portfolio for the whole segment, you can imagine how multiplying this is to the portfolio. So sometimes it's absolutely enough to only have some highlights on your main wash basin, and I think this little animation shows quite well how it could be combined. So it's luckily there that there are color elements that you might want to put in your guest toilet where you want something more outrageous, but you're not challenged to translate this into the full bathroom, because we all would know that after 10 years you probably don't want a complete red decorated bathroom anymore. So similar for Alapé, because Dornbracht and Alapé are one unit. It's enameled steel, also something that is a very, very traditional material, which is glazed. It's melted glass, which is applied on a steel basis, therefore very durable and also extremely long lasting. But in the past, it was a little bit boring because it was more or less only available in a white finish. Oops. And these days, we also have completely new approaches that create very different appearances. Yeah, up to simplicity of combining from one element that covers all, brings it all together in one setup. And again, you could think about all the different backgrounds and options of integrating this at a space which is maybe a more open living area than normally you would have thought about in a bathroom scenario. Yeah, so much for, because I was told only 30 minutes discussion, and I hope this ran you through some different topics of the world we are working on. Do me a favor, check out some of the further topics on the website. And if you'd like to stay in touch or join us for a placement sometime in the future, be happy to welcome you in our studio. And thank you very much. And now I hope we have some questions.
Gracias. Bueno, ¿alguna pregunta? ¿Alguien se anima?
Hi, I wanted to ask that I can see that what you promote is very based on connecting both the product and the environment in which it's placed. But I feel like that can also be complicated depending on the context or of the country, and you might have to change the infrastructure of the household if you want more nature. So that was just a bit something of mine that I wasn't sure how that could work.
Yeah, I think this is one of the great challenges also for us, that why we are now thinking also more about inspiring people about the architecture of the interior of the room, because we have created many, many beautiful products over the last decades. But if people are not capable and are not willing to spend more time actually in their bathroom, because the room is too tiny, that they say, well, I don't have a space to do this. Maybe there is no window, so I like to get out and have more access to nature. That is something that we are also thinking about more and more. And maybe I'll just like to share one or two images on a bathroom that we also developed. It's a conceptual bathroom on only 6 square meters, making sure that people really have all they need. There's a double wash basin. There would be two shower heads here on top of each other. There's no bathtub inside, because I mean, who is bathing these days? But sitting down, taking a shower, taking something to relax would also be nice. And hopefully you don't have to spend so much money on the grounds to buy this, and still have a little window that gives you the connection to the outside, which helps even in smaller spaces to have a nice scenario. And it's just this layout that can be filled with your individual designs. So I'm not quite sure if did that answer your question?
Yeah, I thank you. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was someone in the back also. Somebody translate. You may ask me something in Spanish. I'll try to understand.
Hello, hi there. I have a question about extension lines because I see you presented us with a faucet and I don't know the names, sorry. But do you extend your designs to other features for the bathroom? For example, the towel rack, or because, for example, I try to have a look in a bathroom and it's very difficult to see. I choose a faucet, oh, I love it. And I go to look for the towel rack and you can't find a similar style.
That really is, I think, right now for the interior designer, a super challenge. I mean, I've just realized this in the hotel where we're staying, and there's a faucet with a dark brass, finished brass black somehow. And then the interior designer was challenged. Okay, now I need the lamp. Now I need the mirror. Now I need the hooks, the paper bin, everything you had to suddenly find because the past chrome was everywhere. And so the people who want to go down the easy road still stick to chrome. So finding now dark finishes as a stand for your wash basin, etc., makes it a little bit more challenging.
And even the style, sorry, you see, okay, the last design, it's more feminine, more curves, more organic. And you see, okay, I'm going to look for the tower rack. It's on lines or straight. You see, I can have a cohesive look for the bathroom.
You can, and at the same time, we always say, well, we don't want to see. That was also the classical way we created lines 10, 20 years ago, this design link. So if there was something curvy on the faucet, the toilet holder had to be curvy, the bathroom rack holder had to be curvy, this had to be curvy. And then we said, is this really something we need? Isn't it better to have maybe something simple, a round rosette, a straight handle, which is the best one to put your towel there. And then it's a complementary line. So we have round ones and rectangular ones, and then they should be able to combine with all the different lines with the SIO, which is very prominent. And you need maybe something more simple or simplicity. I think what we need is matching finishes, because that doesn't work. I mean, you cannot have a very nice dark chrome and then suddenly this is the standard chrome, or you have something in a Dura brass and then something in white or black. So I think that is necessary. But what we try to reduce is to make all the accessories matching the shapes, because then the whole portfolio explodes and the numbers that you are actually producing 5 of those, 10 of those. So it's much more efficient for the consumer to buy something on a larger scale without making it too simple and too boring. But we say, well, this is the character element. But if the thermostat that does not automatically need a cross handle, it's absolutely fine if it's just round. It's still, they still work together from my viewpoint. So it's always a little bit the question of how precise the consumer or the customer or yourself is on wanting this one design element running through completely.
Yeah, maybe it's that in Spain, it's sometimes difficult to find things that match, that you say, okay, they are different sets and different designs, but they make a cohesive look. And it's a bit difficult to find sometimes.
No, I think we all want something matching, and you it's like having I don't know, your outfit. There needs to be a certain color combination, otherwise it doesn't really fit. But we try to find the right balance between the amount of individuality, but at the same time, I mean, all our round faucets could go with the same shower head. So I don't need a shower head that has kind of maybe a cross here somewhere just to say, oh, it's a Tara shower head.
My question was,
in the, well, how do you know when you are passing the line of progressiveness or vanguardia, no sé, vanguardianess? I don't know how it's called. Like,
The avant-garde.
eso.
Well, I think it's at the end a certain amount of discussion within the team, with the customer, with the salespeople, to say, well, what is your impression? And then again, surely we have different developments of markets. I mean, when we have been very surprised that some of our faucets were ordered in black in South America much earlier than in the rest of Europe, where we say, oh, wow, why is Argentina, Chile, why are they more progressive? Maybe it's the high-end society that is capable of buying this product, and maybe they are more linked to other design trends. It's at the end, I mean, for us, the first day on the fair, when the product is officially shown, and then people who have not been involved in the process and don't know all the thoughts that went into the product, and to see their reaction is pretty exciting for us. It's our big exam always that we stand in front, and there is success, and there are also products that we had to take out of the portfolio some years later because maybe we were too early. One was a design my brother came back with after talking to an interior designer in London, and he said, well, I'm not using any of your products. And he said, why don't you like our design? He said, no, it's not about your design. I don't take any standard industrial product. I go to antique markets, I buy old products and send them to a factory, and they put new technology inside. So it's like a reconstruction of an old timer car with a new engine. And we said, yeah, beautiful, but it's no way we can afford something like this. But maybe we have to make a design which has kind of a no design. So it was a very simple 3-hole mixer. At first, everybody said, oh, yes, it's the right thing for now after the crisis and the financial crisis, 2008, 2009, we need to calm down. But then we realized, well, people still wanted to buy something different and didn't want this completely no design at that time.
¿En alguien más?
What are the phases and difficulties that you go through while creating a new product?
So say again.
So you have to go through phases, like first doing sketches and everything. What are the difficulties and different phases that you have to go through to have the end product at the end?
I think that one of the most difficult phases is really phase one, looking at all the options which are there, and that quite often also depends on the partnership. I mean, in this case, I mean, working in this market for such a long time, we know what is happening left and right, what other competitors are doing, critically looking at our portfolio. So then trying to identify an area like we did here and saying, okay, we need this transitional style. We need to give an answer to people who want something not too so perfect. They live with open construction, old walls. Trying to identify this, getting this understanding of, and then sooner or later trying to translate this into a different shape, which is so different that it can be differentiated from the rest we already have, and at the same time surely create something which is not so radically outrageous that people wouldn't understand that it's still a faucet. So there is technical limitations. You have to make sure that it's functional. You need to make sure that it's also can be handled by children, by elderly people. So there's how is it, the smaller the grid is, I think the easier the design process becomes. So if you have an exam where your teacher just says, well, create something, whatever you like. I mean, what do I like? I like so much. And I think this is a similar challenge that we have, that you have to try to narrow down and get the understanding, and the better the partnership is, and somebody can tell you, okay, this was successful, this was not successful. We have a competitor analysis of what other people have been doing. So the research phase, I think, is really important to make sure to get an understanding of what is happening around us and what could influence this product you are working on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
¿Alguna pregunta más? Bueno, pues Christian, thanks for coming, thanks for this opportunity, and well, un caluroso aplauso para que...
Thank you. No, it's truly been my pleasure, and I thank you for your time. Luckily, I know that the Spanish lunchtime is just starting now, so I didn't hear too many hungry stomachs, but no, thanks a lot. And as I said, please stay in touch on all the social media channels. And if somebody of you thinks about doing a placement in Germany for some months, please feel free to contact me. Be happy to welcome some of you. Yeah, take a note.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks, bye.